And when I welcome everybody in from YouTube, I want to say hello to everybody. Let's see if it's set up on YouTube, but I'm not going to go live. Next week, we will be finishing chapter 7. And when we finish chapter 7, I am not going to go live when we finish chapter 7. So this is the time for you guys to join the book club. Text the word love on YouTube. Text the word love to 87948, and you will be able to come into the Zoom and you'll be able to finish chapter 7. So next week, I won't have book club next week on the 20th, but I'll be back on the 27th. We'll be ready to complete chapter 7, and I'm not going to go live. The end of chapter 7 is just going to be just us. It's just going to be us. We have a lot to process. I think chapter 7 is the most powerful chapter so far because it is talking all about the ego. And goodness gracious. It's sacred work. I really do believe that it's sacred work, letting go of the ego. Specifically today, though, we're going to be diving into the topic. I think that takes a lot of courage and it takes a lot of humility to be able to let go of blame, go beyond our vices, and we are going to be confessing our truth. Let me look and make sure that's right. Yes. So we're going to let go of blame. We're going to go beyond our vices and we'll be confessing our truth. That is what we're going to talk about today. And often, according to David Rico, he teaches us that our ego clings to blame. Sometimes it feels safer to point the finger at everybody else, what everybody else is not doing. It's so much safer to point the finger than it is to look inward. So, being a true adult, a loving, mindful adult, that invites us to take full responsibility for our actions without shame. So, that's what we're going to do today. We're going to explore how blaming others blocks our own growth because you're pointing the finger outward and you're not looking inward. We are also today going to look at how we can move past our vices. You know, vices, those habits we use to avoid pain, how our ego shows up to protect our vulnerable selves. So that's what we're going to be examining today. And the third thing we're going to do today, confessing. How confession, when it's done with tenderness, it's a tool of liberation, not shame and punishment. So, y'all grab y'all journals, grab your book, How to Be an Adult in Relationships, and this requires an open heart. Okay, so for everybody, let me put it into the chat. For everybody that wants a replay of all of the videos I've done, chapter 1 through chapter 7, I'll put it in YouTube first. Be sure to, oh, I don't know how to put it in the live chat. Oh, I'm not certain how to do live chat now. Okay. Um, hmm. Okay. Well, I'm not going to be able to do it in YouTube. I don't understand why YouTube is not letting me do it. Okay, but that's fine. I don't have to do it in YouTube. For everybody joining us, if you want any of the recordings, here is the link, draliciabookclub.com/inner circle. You can go and you can sign up for the recordings. That will be very helpful for you. So, okay, let's talk about homework. Y'all been doing your homework? Yeah, come on. Oh, wait, I didn't put okay, wait. I don't think I did it right. Let me put the link in here for everybody. Okay, there's the link. Okay, there's a link there, draliciabookclub.com/inner circle. You can go there for all of the recordings. Let's see. Homework. Y'all got your journals out. Listen, you need to have journals. This is not just about listening to me discuss. This is the work that we all need to do um, to reflect. I want to take a moment to reflect on the homework, and I think that this is important. So, the first thing that we talked about last week was dropping pretense. Y'all remember? You're supposed to journal about how and when you've hidden your true self and rated how safe you feel to show up authentically in your relationships. The second thing we did was letting go of pouting. You practice a 3A program. Acknowledge the pout, ask for what you want directly, and accept whatever answer you get with grace and appreciation. And then the third piece of our homework was asking for ego feedback. So you are challenged to reflect on moments when feedback helped you grow and challenge yourself to receive it with openness and not to be defensive about it. So, these are very important. And also, I would like for y'all to share some of these moments, any aha moments, any breakthroughs, any struggles in trying to show up authentically in your relationships. Because we're going to dig into that. When you are not authentic, the ego takes over. And chapter 7 is all about acknowledging the ego. What's the name of chapter 7? Is about letting go of ego. To let go of your ego is going to require you to face some of your own struggles, face some of the things that you've been hiding behind, and to drop the pretense, stop living your life as if everybody owes you something, and to be comfortable in yourself to ask for feedback from people who are important to you. Okay, so before we turn to this work, any reflection on some of the homework? Who did homework? Linda, tell us about the homework that you've done. You were a little defensive. Oh, so Linda, you asked for feedback and you got defensive? Tell us about it. Oh, I feel so dehydrated. You did half the homework. You're a work in progress. Well, you know what, Jen? Just to be able to admit that is saying that's pretty cool. It's good to be able to admit that you did not quite do the homework, but it's okay. Keep doing it. Karen didn't do it either. Who did some homework? Karen did some journaling. Anybody want to make a comment on anything that you discovered? The homework that you did do, what did you figure out about yourself? Nobody, I'm so dehydrated today. But y'all figure anything, it felt good. Okay, tell us about you. Okay, excellent. So you sat in front of the journal, but you needed prompting questions in front of me. I asked for feedback. T. Thomas said, you asked for feedback and then you got defensive. But then I asked myself, what if it's true? It was true. Oh my gosh. Oh my God, regardless of how I felt. So good, Tia. Tia, that took a lot of bravery to ask for feedback. And then you ask the question, but you have to be willing and open enough to accept whatever answer your partner gives you and become curious about that because the point of this all is for self-awareness to know sometimes we don't know how we're coming across to people, and it's a privilege to be able to be in a position where you can get honest feedback because most of the time people are never really transparent with you. You never really know how someone feels. So that took a lot of courage. Is it T or Tia? I don't know. But that took a lot of courage, Miss T. Thomas. It took a lot of courage. T, yes. So T, it took a lot of courage. Okay, Michael is saying, asking for feedback from our partner added a new element of intimacy in our life. What? did it draw you guys closer together? Was it connection that was fostered because you asked for feedback? That means you care about how your partner feels and you're open to make adjustments. Yes, yes. It allowed you to connect. Wonderful, Michael. Thank you. Testimony, a testimony of the book club. This is pretty awesome. This is great. Okay, so keep this going. Keep it going. You asked for feedback, Michael. Maybe you can also invite your partner to listen to your feedback of them. Okay, Karen is saying, I figured out most of the time I'm very open. My daughter just tells me I don't think about anything. My husband gets defensive. Now, does that mean I have to be different? Well, I mean, if you notice that your husband's getting defensive, oh, maybe you need to ask him permission first before you give him feedback. Maybe not. Or you can send your husband a link to the videos and have him. It'd be great, Karen, if you and your husband watched this together, and then you can blame me. You can say, well, Dr. Alicia says we need to do this. Sometimes partners aren't ready to listen to me yet. Yeah, sometimes they're not ready, but you can model for your partner healthy, receiving healthy feedback. Sometimes you can model. Yes, that's right, Karen. It's my fault. Blame it on me. I'll take the blame. Say it's homework that you're giving. It's like being in school. Okay, this is cool. I really love it. Michael was courageous enough to ask for feedback and it ended up making them closer. I think that is really wonderful. Y'all remember Michael when you feel nervous or you start to get defensive. Remember, getting defensive does not create closeness. So you have to, instead of being defensive, you need to think about how your partner may be correct. So. So Byron Hill says, my wife invited me to the book club. It works. Yes, Byron. Yes, us wives, we be dragging our husbands along, kicking and screaming, but it does work. So you got to listen to your wives. This is so cool. It's your first time, Antoinette. Oh my gosh. Well, get your journal out. If you don't have a journal, Antoinette, everybody who's listening, if this is your first time, welcome. Welcome to the book club. If this is your first time, we are reading from How to Be an Adult in Relationships. We are learning about our science, and our science is mindful loving. David Rico has 5 keys to mindful loving. I'm not going to go into the keys right now, but you can get the recordings. Dr. Alicia Book Club. Dr. Alicia Book. Oh, wait, what's the I got to know the website. draliciabookclub.com/inner circle, INNERCIRCLE. And that's how you get the recording. So you'll have everything that you need. We're almost at the end of the book. We're on chapter 7 of 9 chapters of the book. So 1 through 6, 1 through 7 is still recorded and put together into a course for you. So, okay, let's dive into what we're going to talk about today. Okay. Any other questions before I dive in? Linda said she's been married for 50 years and still growing and learning. That's what's up. I love that. Yay, Linda, 50 years. That is amazing. Patricia says, divorce, single, feedback for friends. Friends say you're too nice. Family says, you've been gone 40 years. Why are you asking such deep questions? Blame it on me. Put it on me. My question, Dr. Alicia, is what is the problem? Yeah, back in Texas, 10 years. Back in Texas? Back in Texas, why are you asking such deep questions? Oh, so they're wondering why you're asking such deep questions. Yeah, just put it on me. Say I gave homework out, and you want to make sure that you show up to the book club having your homework completed. I'm a college professor. I can't help but to give homework out. So, so I'm grading y'all's work and giving you encouragement. Okay. Excellent. Okay, if you have questions, the people who are in the Zoom, if you do have questions, be sure to type it in the Q&A. There's Q&A. And I'll be looking at the Q&A and making sure that all the questions are answered. If you're on YouTube, welcome everybody. You won't be able to ask questions. I can't give you any shout outs because I'm not seeing you. It's just recording on YouTube. But if you do want to come into the Zoom, text the word love, LOVE, to 87948. I am not going live with the book club next Sunday because I will be on a trip with Dr. Boyce. He's doing a trip with Jay Cameron, and I'm going on a trip. And anybody who wants to go next year, because it's all sold out this year, but anybody who wants to go next year, be sure to text travel. TRAVEL, travel to 87948, and then that'll put you on the list for next year. Next year when we go somewhere. I'm not sure where we're going, but it'll be somewhere really nice. So far, it's very well organized. I love being able to travel and not have to think about all the details. It's all thought out for me, and I can travel and not wonder, are people going to accept me? Because it's a beautiful, warm crowd of people who go on these trips. So that's a lot of the mental anguish is put on someone else's responsibility to make sure we have a good time, and we will have a good time. I'm very excited about the naming ceremony that's happening this week, and I am very excited about going to where the slave ships were. I'm just gonna get my tissue ready and wear white and just cry like a baby. So anyway, um, okay, it's almost the top of the hour, so we got to dive into the content today. Okay, let's see. Um, let's see the content. We are letting go of blame. We are going beyond our vices. We are confessing our truth. Okay, so let's get started here. Okay. We are on page 212 of the paper copy of David Rico's How to Be an Adult in Relationships, the Five Keys to Mindful Loving. We are on page, yes, 212. Lord, almost done here. Okay, 212. Thank you, Patricia. She's just letting everybody know in the chat. We're on 212. Letting go of blame. Letting go of blame. We may use blame and criticism to cover up needs that we have not expressed or that have not been met. So we use blame and criticism, blaming everybody, criticizing everybody, to cover up needs that have not been expressed. Nobody can read your mind. How do you expect somebody to meet your needs if you haven't even talked about what they are? You just expect people to just know what to do. Sometimes they don't know what to do. So needs have not been expressed or that have not been met. So you get upset and you start blaming people and criticizing them and getting upset. That's what we do. Now, this happens, but we got to let go of that. Our essential needs await fulfillment behind all the ego layers. What are the ego layers? Fear, attachment, control, complaint, and defensiveness. All of those things come out of us. Woo! When our needs are not met. Oh my gosh, your needs are not met. So you start getting afraid. You start with this attachment stuff, control, attachment issues, control. You want to control everything. You want to complain and get defensive. That's what happens. To state our needs rather than to blame others for not fulfilling them, state your need instead of blaming others for not fulfilling them, leads to the very openness and vulnerability that makes for authentic intimacy. Authentic intimacy. Apply this knowledge by understanding the impulse to blame as a signal of some unmet need. by stating the need instead of blaming. Just say what you want. Stop expecting everybody to read your mind. Say what you want. Change, you were wrong to do this. To, I need your attention, acceptance, appreciation, affection, and allowing. Can y'all do that? Hold on, let me silence my phone. People keep texting me. Do not disturb. Gosh. Okay. Silence my phone. The beeping. Gosh. Okay. So I think this is really powerful. David Rico is saying to state our needs rather than blame others for not fulfilling them. Hold on. People keep texting me. I'd have to do a reduce interruptions because it's getting on my nerves. So David Rico is saying to state our needs rather than blame others for not fulfilling them leads to the very openness and vulnerability that makes for authentic intimacy. I gotta let that sink in. um, blame. I think it's like when you blaming other people, I think it's disguised as a cry for help. So it's what we do when we feel hurt. Sometimes we feel hurt in relationships. Sometimes we feel unseen. Sometimes in relationships, we may feel unsupported, but yet we don't know how to say exactly what we really mean. So, like, this is what I hear a lot. And I know sometimes I'm guilty of this, you never make time for me. You always on your phone. As something I say, sometimes I'll say that to my husband. Like, you always on your phone. You either scrolling or talking to somebody, and you don't even make time for me because quality time is my love language. You don't even care. And I've learned that I need to like change that and say stuff like, I've been feeling really, talk about how I feel, right? I may say to my husband, I feel very disconnected lately. What I really need from you is some focused time with you. I see you on your phone a lot. I see you always on calls. Maybe we could plan a date night. Maybe we can sit and talk without your phone and just connect. Now, if I say that to him, he has never said no. That's the stupidest idea in the world. Anytime I say that to my husband, he'll just be like, okay, fine, I'll do it. And then he'll even say, notice I don't have my phone. And I'll be like, yes, I notice you don't have your phone. Thank you very much. You're not looking at your phone. So that's like something that I've had to learn to do is to is to say it. Y'all, okay, Rhonda notices the difference. Y'all know the difference. Like, think about the difference. You don't never make time for me. You always on your phone. You don't even care. How does that sound? Or how does it sound when I actually say, okay, you know what, boys, I'm feeling very disconnected. I would really need us some focused time together. Let's spend some time together. Let's go on a date, or let's just sit and talk. We don't have to spend money, but let's just sit and talk without distractions. What's the difference? I mean, that first statement comes from, it's a softer tone, but where is it coming from? So the first statement is rooted in fear and frustration, which happens in relationships. You could be frustrated. But the second way to approach somebody is about vulnerability because I'm talking about how I feel. Like, I feel disconnected. That's a truth rooted in me. And it's showing I also have a desire for connection. So, what happens is that when we shift blame to naming exactly what we need, we open the door for authentic communication, authentic intimacy. And then the conversation doesn't become elevated because people can get very defensive. So the next time, y'all, this is a challenge. Express how you feel in a non-threatening way. Good job, Elizabeth. So the next time you feel the impulse to blame, just be aware of that. Stop and say, okay, what need is going on that's unmet right now? Then state what you need, state it clearly, but do it in a way that's loving, non-threatening. Michael says it's grown folks talk. Yes, this is grown folks talk. I feel disconnected. Yeah, your husband would be like, "Wow, I think so." Maybe that's a challenge for us to this week. Maybe in your journals, you can write about a moment where you blame someone close to you. Try working on journaling and connecting with what you need and reframe the blame as a need. What were you really asking for beneath the surface? Maybe circling back to your partner and say, you know what, that conversation didn't go as well as I'd like for it to go. Let's try it again. I'm gonna ask for what I want again. Let's do it again. Okay, here's how I'm feeling and here's what I need. How might that conversation go differently if you lead with the vulnerability? So begin the conversation with you being vulnerable instead of attacking your partner. Yes. Okay, Michael has a question. How do we work on not projecting our frustration so we can learn how to express ourselves in a more vulnerable manner? Yeah. So I think the first thing you need to do, Michael, is notice when you're projecting. Be self aware of when it's happening. What happens when you have other people in your life that think texting back and forth is a form of communication? Yeah, texting is not communicating, it's not talking at all. Texting is not talking. So you could say, if someone's texting, say, um, I'd like to hear your voice. I want to talk to you. I want to hear what you're saying because I want to be able to understand you better. I don't like to text. Yeah, texting is not good. So you can just say, can we have a conversation? I'd like to hear your voice. That would make me feel happy. This is what I need. I need for us to sit down and have a face-to-face conversation. Why? Because I'm taking out the time to do this and you are important to me. Texting somebody is it doesn't take very long to actually set aside time to actually talk to somebody directly face to face takes time. It takes commitment. And you can say, this is so important to me. You are so important to me that I don't want anything to get lost in translation of a text. I'd like for us to have. Wait, hold on a second. What are my kids are texting me something? Oh, they're just being silly. Okay. Anyway, that's the conversation. That's the conversation. The conversation can get lost in in the text message. Y'all got it? Okay. All right. All right. Let's move on. Okay. So the next paragraph says, when you find yourself thinking critically about a partner or a friend, like you should stop smoking. Try changing the criticism to an affirmation, even prayerful and kind hearted wish. May you find strength to stop smoking. Hmm. Okay, I like this. Like this. Use this same technique when you are self critical. May I find the strength to know it is in me to let go of this habit. May you find the strength. Wish positivity on other people instead of criticizing other people. Wish positivity. Okay, when listening to the news and seeing a criminal or someone you find repugnant, there's a lot of that in the news for sure. Practice saying within yourself, may he find Buddha's way. May he become a great saint. This is what is meant by not giving up on someone. The royal road to freedom from the retaliatory instinct of the ego. My kids are acting silly. Just stop. Stop. Goodbye to you guys. Okay. I'm sorry, my kids are being silly right now. Okay. So, retaliatory instinct of the ego. That is very powerful. Let me finish this section because I want to go back on how the ego wants to retaliate. Okay. We allow the consequence of others' acts to catch up with them or not. We do not impose the judgment ourselves or even pronounce it. We are not executioners or jurors. It's not us to judge, right? Only fair and alert witnesses. We are not glad they got theirs. We only hope they can wake up. So we're not wishing ill on anybody. We just hope that those people find the way of the Buddha, right? The mindful path. We wish everyone finds the mindful path. We also keep in mind uh, that since witnessing happens only in a mirroring gaze, it is a form of getting to love someone more than before. I want to go back to this retaliatory instinct of the ego. I think, like, I was thinking about this. This is really fascinating because the ego wants to retaliate. It's an instinct, it's like immediate. So I just kind of feel like sometimes emotionally charged we can get, we have the urge to get even with people. Like if somebody hurts us, we want to hurt them back, you know? Um, we want to get even. Sometimes we feel hurt, sometimes we feel rejected, sometimes we feel criticized, sometimes we feel exposed. And it's the part of us that says, you embarrassed me, so I'm going to shame you back. Or you ignored me, you're going to ignore me? Huh. Well, I'm going to give you the silent treatment. You hurt me? Okay, now I want to hurt you back. We want to retaliate. This instinct, it doesn't come from love. It doesn't come from an higher self. It comes from what? It comes from wounds. We are wounded. So the ego, in this sense, is trying to protect us. Remember, the ego is like the Wizard of Oz. You know how the wizard had to stand behind something, and meanwhile, he was insecure, he was nervous, and he was unsure of himself. But when he was the Wizard of Oz, he was strong and powerful. So that's what the ego is trying to protect, that in us. Okay, so by restoring this false sense of power and control. Remember, the Wizard of Oz, he was very powerful. He's the Wiz. He lives in Oz. He's powerful and all-knowing. That is ourselves. We try to put up this front, you know, that protects us from our inner insecurities. But when we do this in relationships, it blocks intimacy, it blocks healing, it blocks growth, it blocks you growing and becoming what you need to become as a real person, showing yourself. So, retaliation in the moment satisfies the ego, it satisfies your outer shell, but ultimately it undermines your connection with people who are important to you. And it keeps us stuck in this cycle. I think, like, sometimes in relationships, we get stuck in this cycle of blame. We start blaming people, we feel shame, we get defensive. And what David Rico is asking us to do when he's talking about letting go of the blame, he's saying let go of some of that because that's how we can move toward honesty, we can move toward empathy, and we can repair our relationships. Hmm, what y'all think about that? So instead of asking, how can I make them feel what I felt? Somebody hurts you. How about asking, what hurt in me is asking to be seen right in this moment? Hmm. I don't know. Like, okay, suppose you're in a relationship with somebody and they forget an important date, or they forget a commitment, or like something happens and they forget. The ego wants to say, I don't care. So what? They can forget all they want. I don't really make a difference to me. I'm just going to ignore them and then make them feel the pain that I felt. That's what the ego wants you to do. But your adult, mature self can pause and say, hey, you know what? That person forgot our anniversary. That person forgot a date that we made with each other. And I feel hurt. I feel overlooked. What I really need is reassurance. I need acknowledgement. Let me express that. Let me express what I need, what that person, how that person made me feel, and express that instead of retaliating. How many of y'all could do that? Retaliation, because can y'all do that? Sonia says, respectfully, sometimes the FAFO phrase may have to happen to understand the lesson being taught. Sonia, I'm challenging you, Sonia, and everyone else who agrees with the sentence. Like, I love that, Sonia, because like I felt that too. FAFO, right? But that's retaliation. And when you're working, yeah, it's hard to do, Michael. But when you're working with and you're in a relationship with someone, even if you're not in a relationship with someone, when that happens in any relationship, just know that retaliation closes. It closes the heart, where vulnerable expression opens it. So you can confess how you feel and without taking revenge. That's how you help relationship. Cool Cool says, I can't. I realize sometimes people genuinely don't care. Well, they may come across as somebody who doesn't care. Cool, cool, cool. They may come across as somebody who doesn't care. But if it's the end of the relationship and then they hurt you repeatedly and you may decide to end the relationship, at least they'll know why. At least you're not putting negativity out there. I don't know. Payback. I know you go with the big payback. Sometimes the payback happens with karma. Sometimes it's not in your hands. Sometimes payback happens with karma. You can, y'all know Dr. Frazier, right? Dr. Frazier says, you bless them and release them. He used to say that all the time, but that's the Buddha way. You know, you see something isn't going right, you can bless and release, but you can also talk about how you felt. I mean, you can talk to a person and say, listen, that made me feel like you didn't care. I really looked forward to us hanging out together, and the fact that you didn't show up really hurt my feelings. And, open up your heart. You'd be surprised what you might get. Yes, but how often do we practice this and it's ignored by 90%? And I'm on the outside of gathering still. Yeah, I mean, George Fraser said you can bless and release. You don't have to be retaliatory. I don't know. I really do think that it's something for you to think about. Journal it, journaling exercise. around recognizing the impulse to retaliate versus choosing a healthier response. That's all I'm saying. What y'all think? Okay, hey everybody. I know there's some people in YouTube world who are just joining us. We are reading from David Rico's How to Be an Adult in Relationships, The Five Keys to Mindful Loving. This book is revolutionary. It is all about how to be healthy in relationships. Um, we have just talked about how to let go of blame, criticism, retaliating, how to let go of all of that and center instead of your ego, center everything on love. Center it, center it, center it. Yeah, I think, Rhonda, I do believe this is like the best chapter so far. I thought the chapter on conflict, how to deal with conflict, I thought that was the best chapter, but this one on ego is really, really good. Okay. So, everybody, oh, those of you who are joining us, I just want to put in here if you want to get the recordings, you can go to this website, draliciabookclub.com/inner circle. You can get the recordings. For those of you who want to follow me on Instagram, I am coaching with Dr. Alicia. You can follow me on Instagram and TikTok. I do have a TikTok page. I don't post the same content on TikTok than I do on Instagram, probably because I don't have time to do that. It'd be nice if I had a social media manager, but I don't. So I create my own content. And so I don't have time to really post there, but it'd be great to follow me on TikTok and also on Instagram. Those are the wonderful ways to get a hold of me. Okay. All right. So we're going to move on. You follow me, Rhonda. Thank you for following me. I appreciate it. Anybody who wants to work with me, you can go to coachingwithdralicia.com and then you just go to that website and you'll see where you can complete the intake. And then myself or my assistant will reach out to you to follow up. Okay. We are moving on. We are talking about going beyond our vices. We all got vices. Okay. All right, let's see. Let's see what they say about vices. Going beyond our vices. In some Buddhist traditions, the six poisons of pride, envy, desire, greed, ignorance, and aggression are the ego vices that keep us stuck. Yikes. So he just going there. He just saying what's happening. Okay. Wow. Okay. So he is saying um, we can liberate ourselves from them by making choices that emanate from egolessness. Thus, pride gives way to humility. Envy gives way to joy at others' good fortune. Okay. So, others' good fortune, you want to have joy instead of envy. Okay. Um, all right. Desire for more gives way to satisfaction with what we have. So, you want to be greedy and want more and more and more? How about we just appreciate what we already have? Okay. Greed gives way to generosity. Ignorance gives way to a commitment to inform ourselves. Be curious about things. Always wanting to study and learn. That helps. I like this. Aggression gives way to non-violent passion. This is how the poisoned ego realm becomes a space wherein we can awaken. So, what he's asking you to do is to draw a chart. In the left-hand column, list the six poisons. Six poisons: pride, envy, desire, greed, ignorance, and aggression. Those are the six poisons. And the symptoms you show when you are poisoned by them. So, what is it that you show? How do you know when you're being envious? How do you know when you're being greedy, when you're being violent? Good grief. Aggression, showing aggression. In the right-hand column, list the ways you will behave and feel when you have let go of them. How are you going to feel when you let go of them? I like this. I really like this. You like it too, Rhonda? When we let go of these ego states, pride, envy, desire, greed, ignorance, and aggression, when we let go of them, our entire emotional posture shifts. Our presence softens. We become more mindful. We also become safer for other people to love us. We become more peaceful within ourselves. This is what I think happens when we let go of those things. Well, first, you need to recognize it when it comes up in yourself and know that you are human. So don't be ashamed. Really be honest with yourself about when they pop up. Nobody should be reading your journals but you. And you can communicate whatever feels comfortable to you in the chat. Yes, Rhonda, it's all about Maya. The scales of the heart. Feathers. Yes, by Maya. Oh my gosh. Isn't it true when you pass on to the other side that your heart is weighed against a feather? Your heart has to be as light as a feather for you to enter into heaven. Yes, yes. So you got to let go of this ego. Drop in the chat the three homework questions. Well, the first thing is part of the homework question, other than letting go of blame, is to write down these six poisons: pride, envy, desire, greed, ignorance, and aggression. And he's saying, chart this in the left hand column, list the six poisons and the symptoms you show when you are poisoned by them. And then in the right hand column, list the ways you will behave and feel when you have let go of them. How are you going to behave? How are you going to feel? I think like this is a transformative exercise because how you believe you would feel, if you let go of them. How are you going to speak? How are you going to behave once this shift is rooted in you? So you can almost think like, when I release pride and embody humility, I will what? What's going to happen for you? When I let go of envy and celebrate others, I will feel, I will speak, I will behave. Y'all write this in your journals. When I stop craving more and feel satisfied and appreciative of what I have currently, I will, how would you end that sentence? When I choose generosity over greed, I will feel, I will speak, I will behave in this way. When I commit to understanding rather than remain ignorant, I will what? What you gonna do? When I offer compassion instead of aggression, I will feel. What shift is going to happen to you once you let go of this? This is who I'm becoming. Who do you want to become as a mindful adult who loves giving the 5 A's? What do you want to be? How you want to emanate? Like what feelings do you want to emanate to the world? Y'all got to think of this. Yeah, Jen is saying, I'll feel calmer. I'll feel more emotionally mature. You'll be more self-aware. You'll be a ray of light. You'll be a mindful adult. Yes, Colleen got it. Pride, humility, envy, celebrating others, greed, generosity, crave more. Um, Generosity, crave more. Satisfied and appreciative. Aggression, compression, compassion, Let's see, what else you are you missing? Sonia say I will feel authentically confident. Yeah, authentically just comfortable in your own skin. That's who you're becoming. So the six questions are: when I release pride and embody humility, I will. What's going to wake up in you? When I let go of envy and actually celebrate others, I will. When I crave, I will stop craving more and I will start feeling satisfied and appreciative of what I have. This will happen for me. When I choose generosity over greediness, I will. When I commit to understanding rather than remain in ignorance, I will. And when I offer compassion instead of aggression, I will. And I think, start to think about who and what you're going to become. It's a shift that's going to happen in you guys. That's your homework assignment. Defeat imposter syndrome. Yes, I love this. Love this. Love it. I'm sorry, I'm so harsh today. Really, really, really thirsty. Okay. Woo. Okay, we got two down. Oh my God, it's the bottom of the hour. Oh, and I still got confessing. We got one last section to go, but it's like a meaty section. It's like two whole pages long. So we kind of gonna go over a little bit over the hour, but that's okay. I think it's worth going over the hour because I'm not gonna be able to see y'all for a while. Okay, so we're gonna move on page 213, and it is about confessing. We're confessing. What does this mean? Okay, let's find out. Mindful, loving justice in a relationship is not re- retributive, retributive, but restorative. It moves us from alienation to reunion in an atmosphere of mended failures. It fosters healthy vulnerability, and diminishment of ego, which reduces unskillful behavior in the future. As we grow in self esteem, we want to be seen as we are. We don't hide our errors or limits, we admit them. This is the confession part. We don't hide it, we admit them. Then others can adjust their expectations of us, and we feel less pressure to get it all right. Don't try to walk around act like you're so perfect. Restorative justice teacher, being heard is half the process. Yes. You are restorative justice. Okay, so Jen's gonna weigh in on this. Help us figure, help us figure all of this out. By the way, my hair is like super long. I got it all the way down to my waist, and it's kind of long. Like, yeah. Anyway, I'm ready. I'm ready for Africa. Okay, so let's talk. And Jen's gonna help us. Hey, Jen. Oh, great messages. Just, confession is good for the soul. Yes, Rhonda. Okay, let's talk about how to confess. Spiritual adulthood includes a frequent examination of conscience and a need to make amends when appropriate. The alternative, that evil is only out there in others, grants us sinister permission to retaliate and punish. So the other is evil. We're not, but the other is evil. Therefore, those other people need to be punished. That sounds familiar in this world that we live in, where we demonize an entire group of people and blame all of society's woes on a group of individuals. Okay, we build trust when we admit we are not perfect. Partners can practice an occasional confession to one another by following these steps. So he's talking about this is how you confess. Number one, you need to acknowledge to yourself that you may have failed in mirroring your partner by showing a willful deficit in attention, acceptance, appreciation, affection, or allowing freedom of individuality. Have you refused to address, process, or resolve issues? Anything you don't want to dig into? Have you placed selfish concerns over those of the relationship? Shown disrespect, lied, betrayed, disregarded tender feelings, been critical, not shown appreciation, let your anger erupt into abuse, disappointed your partner? Have you broken an agreement? Have you denied responsibility for your actions or choices? Have you gossiped? Guilty. I love the gossip. Not respected privacy, taking advantage, manipulated or controlled. Have you been greedy? Have you retaliated and so forth? Any of y'all done any of that kind of stuff? Woo! Devising your list requires careful examination of conscience, a willingness to see your own inadequacies. You know what you've done. You know. And a desire to work on them. Do the remaining steps together with your partner. Woo! So, first, he's saying, boy, you got to look at yourself, acknowledge to yourself. That's hard to do. Can y'all do that in your journals? Can y'all do step one? Write down acknowledgement of have done. Where have I fallen short of offering the 5 A's? Where have you fallen short of giving attention, acceptance, affection, appreciation, or allowing? Okay, this is not about feeling shame. We don't want anybody feeling bad about themselves, but you do need to take accountability. Maybe you withheld affection when you were irritated. Maybe you ignored someone's need for space. Maybe you dismissed someone's feelings and got defensive. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know. For example, you could say, I realized to yourself, you could say, I realize I haven't been listening to my partner when they talk about work stress. Sometimes I zone out, I change the subject, and that's a failure on my part to really give attention. And I'm going to own that. What is it in your life that y'all going to own? Write it in your journal. Make a list. Make a list of it. Hi. Okay, that's step one. Admit it. You have to admit it to yourself. Okay, let's move on to step two. Admit your deficiencies in words. Admitting wrongdoing touchingly combines pride and humility. The toxic dimension of something you are ashamed of does not reside in the horror about what you have done, but in the isolated way in which you hold it. So the crime is not in doing it, the crime is in covering it up. That's the crime. Keeping it a secret does more harm to you than having done it. The tragedy is that the more hidden your pain, the more you lose your chance for comfort and release. As Shakespeare says, Lord, he's quoting Shakespeare. Okay, as Shakespeare says in Macbeth, give sorrow words. The grief that does not speak whispers the overwrought heart and bids it break. Lord, Shakespeare is a tough one to get through. Oh my gosh. Okay, so David Rico is saying like the toxic dimension of shame doesn't lie in what you've done, but it lies in how you try to cover it up. Like you're secretly carry it. So you're carrying this around. And he's quoting Shakespeare here, and I had to look it up because I don't really know Shakespeare words. But he's saying that give sorrow words, the grief that does not speak, the overfraught heart, and bids it break. Okay, so I think what he's saying there is when we silence our remorse, it gets buried away and it festers. So the act of confessing with vulnerability is what begins to transform guilt into reconnection. I think that's what he's saying. So, you know, y'all can do this. Can y'all do this in relationships? Can you give my sorry words? Ah, I can feel the release. Yes, Patricia, that's really good. So, like, y'all can do this with your partner or with anybody that's important to you. Like, suppose you snap at somebody and you know you were supposed to be patient, but you weren't. So one thing you could do is you can say, I regret snapping at you yesterday. In the moment, I felt overwhelmed, but that does not excuse shutting you down. And I want you to know that I see that I hurt you. Can y'all say that to somebody without feeling shame? Just owning it. Can y'all do that? Yes, yes. I got a lot of yeses. Yes, yes. Everybody can own it. I regret what I did yesterday. In the moment, I felt really overwhelmed. I was really stressed out in the moment, but that still doesn't excuse me shutting you down. I want you to know that I can see that it hurt you. Can you say that to your children? Okay, that's step two. Okay, step two is admit your deficiencies in words. Okay, step two. Step three. Step three. Step three. Step three, show feelings of sadness and regret. Okay, so don't just explain, feel it. So when you're saying it, express sadness and regret. I don't think they mean like self-pity. I think it's in like letting your partner feel your sincerity, you know, and you can do that in your body tone, the tone of your voice, your body language, your openness. You could do that. Oh, you went to Google. What did Google say? The phrase give not heart does not appear as a quote in Shakespeare works. What? Macbeth, this quote emphasizes the importance of verbalizing grief to prevent emotional damage. Very good. Thank you, Sonia. I needed that because I was trying to pull it out. Humbling yourself. Yeah, I mean, you can say it. Step three is saying, like, I feel heavy about how I've treated you lately. You don't do not deserve that distance. You didn't deserve that. And it makes me feel sad that I caused that hurt in you. Can y'all say that? Do you think you can do that without feeling awful? I mean, that's a big one to be able to admit to yourself when you've done something and then be able to put your deficiencies in words and then to be able to articulate feelings of sadness and regret to another person. Wow. Okay, step four. There's more. Make amends to your partner. Self-destructive penance. For example, Oedipus blinding himself is really retaliation turned on itself. Another trick of ego. Ah, trick. The ego always shows itself. So making amends is not about groveling or turning the pain inward. So Oedipus, what did Oedipus do? Oedipus blinds himself. So Oedipus is like a symbol of the ego turned violently on the self, right? This is not about punishing yourself, it's about repairing the bond. That's what making amends does. So it's asking what your partner needs in the moment and offering sincere act of restoration. So maybe you might want to say, if you didn't give your partner the attention that, and you can tell that it hurt them, maybe you can say, hey, you know what? To make up for it, I would love to take you out to dinner and let's go to bed at the same time. This week, let's, as a way of giving the back some of the energy to you. So what would you like for me to do to repair? It's not bribery, Jen. It's making amends. It's admitting. It's admitting it. It's saying, let's eat together. Let's spend time together. Michael, when do you know it's a good time to suggest it so that you are received well? I mean, I think you can't just go right into making amends. I think you need to acknowledge it, talk about the deficiencies, talk about the feelings of sadness and regret, and then say, I'd like to make it up. Is that okay? You know, try to make it up. Okay. It's better than not trying to make it up. Okay, but that's just step four. Okay, let's go to step five. Step five, resolve not to repeat the behavior. This may include making a plan to police yourself. I think it's good to police yourself, or asking for feedback throughout the coming week. So, this is the plan for growth, not to repeat the behavior. So, this is where, again, you can invite your partner into your growth process. So, you can say, I'm going to pause before reacting next time. I'm going to check in with myself. If you notice me slipping into these old habits, please tell me, but I want to catch it. I want to catch it in real time. You can give your partner permission. I'm giving you permission to call me out because I want to make this commitment. And you're not making a commitment to yourself, but you're talking about it out loud. I don't want to repeat this behavior. I don't want to do it again. And I want to be accountable for my behavior. So I'm going to try to check in with myself and make sure that I don't do that. But if you notice me slipping back into these old behaviors, you let me know. I want to catch it in real time because I don't want to hurt your feelings. How about that? I think I will begin counting to 10 before responding. Easier said than done, but if you practice it, you can do that. Ah, I like it. Okay, last step, number six. Number six is appreciate and thank each other for this opportunity. Woo! Oh my God, healing moments. Uh, this is like relationship 101 gold. So you can thank your partner for their grace, for listening, for choosing to connect with you instead of being resentful. You guys can make the commitment to do that. I think it's really good to do that. Like, thank you for letting me share how I feel. This means a lot to me that you didn't shut me down or push me away. I know we're both doing the best that we can, and I want to make sure I do it right. I mean, there's a bunch of different ways to just lead with this vulnerability. Lord, Lord, Lord. I mean, I don't know. I just think it's really kind of fascinating. You realize you've been critical. Sometimes you realize that you've been impatient. You know, that's not who I want to be in this relationship. Like, I don't want to be impatient. I don't want to be cruel to you. I want to take responsibility. I want to appreciate maybe you being open to me and hearing me out. I want to make a commitment that I'm going to show up differently. Can we keep talking about how this feels for you? I mean, this is really cool to do. Um, what is the chat doing? The chat is busy. I see you. Sonia is on it today. I see y'all. Okay. So I don't know. I mean, this process is difficult to do. I mean, you think of a moment where you disappointed your partner. So I want all y'all to write this in your journals. Think of a moment where you've disappointed your partner and walk through these 6 steps. What would you say? What would you do? Participate in this. This is your homework, okay? What part of this process would be difficult for you to do? Making amends, saying you're sorry, talking about your feelings. What part feels really freeing? So think about this in your journals. In your journals. Okay. All right. So let's see what else he says. These 6 steps disarm the offended other than elicit and elicits forgiveness. So this will elicit forgiveness from your partner. The natural and automatic human response to penitence. As Shakespeare says, we're back on Shakespeare, in The Tempest, they being penitent. Penitent, I think, means you want to repent. I think. I don't know. I feel like Sonia has Chat GPT and let us know. I think the repentance means you feel sorry, you want to repent. So they being penitent, the sole drift of my purpose doth extend, not a frown further. Doth extend, not a frown further. So I think um being penitent, the sole drift of my purpose doth extend, not a frown further. So I think in this moment, whoever's saying this is choosing forgiveness over vengeance. Yeah. So if I remember The Tempest, I did read The Tempest, but um, he has been wronged. So when you've been wronged means that you have been betrayed, you've been exiled, you've been manipulated. But now those who harmed him are repentant. So people who harmed him are remorseful. They're really remorseful. So that means you hold the power, you know, holding great power. So you could punish another person. When someone comes to you and they're remorseful, they're giving you power because you now have to forgive them. It's on you to forgive them. So you have the power of forgiveness. When another person asks you, I'm sorry, if they say, could you please forgive me? But if you see that that other person is truly sorry for what they've done, then I think what Shakespeare is trying to say is that I'm not going to go any further. I'm not going to frown anymore. I'm going to forgive them. I could easily punish them for what they've done, but since they are serious and they really mean what they say, this is emotional maturity. And it's releasing the need to retaliate. Don't want to hold a grudge anymore because that person is authentic in their forgiveness. So you could deliver emotional punishment like silence, silent treatment, or bitterness, but if they're truly sorry, then your intention is to go no further. So you're not going to frown anymore. I think that's what Shakespeare's saying. I'm not going to frown anymore. I'm going to give it to you because you seem sincere. So people who come to you with sincere apologies, you should give it to them, not frown. I just think like it points to this whole process about confessing and everything. It points to what it means to forgive from a place of power, not weakness. I think it tells us that true forgiveness doesn't keep the score. You don't have to extend punishment once the other person has owned their behavior. Yes. So it's like saying reconciliation. Yeah, cool, cool. I get what you're saying. Now that you've shown remorse and taken responsibility, I choose not to weaponize your mistake against you. So, this is the essence of adult love. It's letting the repair, the reconciliation, letting the repair be the end of the rupture. I'm not going to hold on to this anymore. So, can I stop at the moment of sincere repentance? Can you stop? Can you let go of the ego's need to punish and choose grace? Cool, cool. Can you do this? Cool, cool. I think you can. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting. It doesn't mean excusing the behavior, but it does mean that once these conditions for reconnection have been met, to reconnect takes truth, it takes remorse, it takes responsibility. You don't have to keep reaching for power. You don't have to be resentful. What y'all think? Can y'all do this? I think y'all can do this. Okay. A fine line between self-pity and remorse. Yes. Fine line. We're not trying to go into self-pity or shame or anything like that. It's just owning it. Yes, I did this. I shouldn't have done it. I know I hurt you. Here we go. Yes. Yes. Y'all got it. Y'all got it. Y'all, we are enlightened, well-read individual getting into Shakespeare today. Okay. Moving on, we're on page 215 now. A short version of the 6 steps is this approach: admit, apologize, and amend. Hmm. We need a simple model like this. One when at Thanksgiving dinner, for instance, our children bring up something from their past that shows one of our shortcomings as parents, and we feel embarrassed. Our ego wants to defend or forget, but our love for them helps us let go of our pride. When we love, we feel sorrow and say we are sorry when we see someone in pain because of something we did, no matter how well intended. The impact of our actions on others is all that matters when we love. The luminous purpose of this and of all our work is to let a loving response come out first rather than an ego reaction. A luminous purpose of this and all our work is to let a loving response come out first rather than an ego reaction. I think this is beautiful, polished, insightful. Oh my gosh. Like, I think this is the heart of emotional and spiritual maturity. It means instead of reacting with defensiveness, blame, withdrawal, control, our instinct becomes love. Not passive form of love, but courageous that chooses truth, repair, connection over protecting our ego. How about that? This is a shift. We all have to make this shift. A calm answer. Yes. And it's going to be intentional for us to shift how we treat each other. It's the essence of becoming an adult in relationships, I say. Okay. Anyway, um, let's read on. We got 2 more chapters. Oh my God, it's almost the top of the hour. Okay. Some of us were raised with religious practices that included confession to a priest who gave us penance for our sins. In this approach, we take responsibility for making amends to those we may have hurt. Yes, I grew up Catholic. We had to go to confession, and it was interesting because they did give us things to do. We had to, depending on what you were confessing, the priest would actually give us like do 5 Hail Marys. I had to recite the Hail Mary 5 times, and I actually did it. It was weird. So, yeah, in church, you do this whole process in church. That is so fascinating that they made Catholic schoolgirls and boys confess all of their sins in the confession booth. You're confessing it to the priest, and the priest would give you like a list of things to do to repent, and then you'd be fresh all over again. So they practice this whole thing of forgiveness and admitting to yourself. They know that this was a mindful act. Let me tell you, Catholic Church ain't no joke. We used to have to sit in silence in the Catholic Church. And I thought that's really interesting because really what they were doing was they were getting us to meditate. That's interesting. Anyway, anyone who's Catholic should know. All right, I'm getting off on a tangent. Let me go. Um, where did I end off? Okay. Such penance is not a form of retaliation against ourselves, but rather an adult way of redeeming ourselves and becoming free of guilt. 12-step programs use a similar approach to recovery. Yes. AA programs, NA programs, Alcoholics Anonymous programs. Part of that 12-step program is to make amends. Okay. Um, Humility places us in the base camp for all transformation. And relationships are spiritual powerhouses because they humble us again and again. Eventually, we choose that humility, and then a virtue has risen in us. If this is not what everything I learned in Catholic school, I went to Catholic school for 8 years. They taught us this in Catholic school. That is pretty heavy because a Catholic school education is like no other. It is very, um, it's 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 believe it or not, it's very spiritual. It's not really religious. It's very spiritual. Mm. Okay. And at the time, I didn't realize that until I started exploring spirituality and I started like the stuff I learned in Catholic school. But maybe they embedded that desire to look within and to want the path of the spirituality. And I'm just circling back to what is familiar to me since they taught elements of spirituality in Catholic school. That's heavy too. Okay. Finally, when someone hurts us, we may feel victimized. You did this to me is the experience of isolation, emphasizing our polarities. However, when you discover that you have that same tendency or sometimes act in the same way, the experience becomes one of connection. I am like that too. Does not excuse abuser, but it helps us find a path to compassionate communication and, yes, path to communication and reconciliation. Yes. Who was asking about reconciliation? Wait, it was how did I forget his name already? Cool Cool. Cool Cool was asking about reconciliation. Yeah, this is good because when someone hurts us, like our first instinct is often to feel victimized. And I mean, that's understandable. You did this to me. That makes sense. But the experience of being wronged can create an emotional isolation. It creates this polarity. You're the offender and I'm the victim. And it shuts the door on dialogue and it keeps us stuck in blame. And the ego loves this because you don't have to grow. When you're stuck in this victim state, there's no growth in there. You're just a wounded person. So I think something transformative happens in us and in your healing journey when you can say, I may not have done exactly what you did, but I also acted in ways that were unkind. I was also impatient. I was also dismissive or controlling. And I'm like that too. But that does not excuse abuse, just to make things clear. It does not deny any of these things, but it softens the edges because sometimes we can be very righteous. It reminds us that we share this common human struggle. We all struggling with our ego. We're all struggling with imperfections. And, from there, what he's saying is that we can have compassionate communication and reconciliation. All of that becomes possible. I don't know. I feel like, you know, these are the conditions for healing instead of retaliation. So, how y'all doing? Okay, in your journal, how can we turn this into a journal? In your journal, I'd like for you to think of a moment where you felt hurt in a relationship without minimizing your pain. Reflect on whether you have acted in a similar way in a different context. Think about how you reacted. What shifts in you when you acknowledge that shared human tendency? What do y'all notice? Y'all can write that in your journals. And then you have 2 weeks, y'all. Y'all have 2 weeks. I'm gonna be asking, y'all gotta do your homework because I'm gonna be asking for your homework. Um, what do y'all think? Anybody, any questions? I am not going to be back next week. Next week, I'm going to be in Ghana. So let's see if there are any questions. Anybody have questions? A time when you were hurt in a relationship? Yes, reflect on whether you acted in a similar way and what shifts in you. Yeah, what shifts in you as you start to realize that sometimes you are also guilty of some of the things. Oh, you put it in the Q&A. Oh, I see Q&A. Let's look at the Q&A. Name of the book. The book is Anne Allen. It's How to Be an Adult in Relationships, The Five Keys to Mindful Loving. David Rico has taken our science, and put it in a book. Next time we meet, which will be on the 27th, we're going to finish chapter 8. Wait, we're going to complete chapter 8. Is it 8? Wait, what chapter are we on? Oh, we're going to complete chapter 7 next time. And we're going to go to chapter 8. So we're going to complete chapter 7 the next time we meet, which won't be next Sunday. It'll be the Sunday after that. I think it's the 27th. Yes, the book is How to Be an Adult in Relationship. It's the 5 Keys to Mindful Loving. And we've been talking about this book for months now. Thank you, Jen, giving me compliment about my hair. Reflective or guiding question while journaling. Thank you. Yes. So I think I answered the questions here. Um, I think I've answered everything. The 27th. Okay, so we'll be back here on the 27th, but I want to thank all of you guys for being here today, fully present. Y'all are open-hearted, willing to do the inner work. We're doing inner work here today. We explored together 3 things: how to let go of blame. We know how to let go of blame. We know how to go beyond our vices, and we know how to confess our imperfections. And that's not a weakness, it's the foundation for authentic intimacy and deep personal freedom. Yes, we all got egos. We all get defensive, don't we? We all feel hurt. I know I can feel hurt. But when we slow down and lead with love instead of reacting, we create a space for truth. We create connection. We create healing. Remember, what's our quote for the day? The luminous purpose of this and all our work is to let a loving response come out first instead of an ego reaction. Loving response. So stop the ego reaction, loving response. And when you can say, I've been there too, that doesn't excuse harm, but acknowledge our shared humanity. So we're stepping into this sacred work of compromise and reconciliation. Keep journaling, keep being honest, everybody, keep showing up. If this resonated with you, everybody in YouTube world, if this resonated with you, I want to invite you to my inner circle, and you can get all of the recordings, full replays, all this bonus material. I'll put it in the chat for anybody who's interested. draliciabookclub.com, Inner Circle. Follow me on Instagram, Coaching with Dr. Alicia. I post there almost every day on Instagram. Text the word love, LOVE, to 87948 to get updates, bonus material sent directly to your phone. Until next time, take good care of your heart, speak your truth with kindness, and remember you are worthy of love, repair, peace. Okay, peace, everybody. See y'all soon.